Hey coach, so excited you found us on YouTube. Let me help you through this great journey we call coaching. I've done this for 30 years. You can see won a lot of championships, won a lot of basketballs, but let me help you through this journey. Go over and click above, click down below at teachhoops.com, and we will help you through this. One-on-one calls, office hours, more resources than I can even describe. So go over and check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. Enjoy the video.
All right, the first thing that I'm going to talk about, and I think this is extremely important. When I got the job here, 11 years ago, I had to hire a couple coaches, and it's really important when you're hiring coaches to find people you trust people and people that are loyal. Corey Moore, who has been with me for 11 years. I've been blessed that for the last 11 years I've basically kept my core coaching staff together, and I think that's good. I think it's good for a couple reasons. I think it's good because we kind of know how we think. We know that how I'm going to behave, how my sophomore coach is going to behave. What's our strengths, what's our weaknesses, and I think that's really important to have a successful program. I think one of the reasons that we've got 2 silver balls and 3 silver balls and 2 gold balls in the showcase is because we've had continuity. We've had the same people here. With the same vision, which is what I'm talking about here. Our vision has always been to win basketball games. It's not always been easy for us, but it's been important. Another important thing, and over time I've tried to do this more and more, is get coaches in the building. I think it's really important to get coaches in the building. If you're going to be successful, it's best to have people in the building. I personally would not take a head coaching job unless I was in the building. And the reason I feel so strongly about that is because it's the relationships that you build. It's relationships you build with administrators, the teachers, the kids, the community, everything. It's hard to do it if you're working a job 8 to 4 outside the building. You can't go grab a specific kid third hour and talk to them about something that's going on in their life. Or maybe they're having a hard time with this teacher, or having a hard time at home, or they just broke up with their girlfriend, or whatever it is. You got to be able to communicate. And I think it's really important for any of you that are going to be high school coaches. I think it's really important to try to be in the building and have as many coaches as you can. And that's gotten harder and harder. Coaching's a tough profession. There's not a lot of people clamoring to be high school coaches. So it's a difficult thing to do. But I think you really got to be in the building. I think that's extremely important. School. When I was in Wausau, I remember sitting in my living room thinking, okay, where could I go to be successful? Because my goal was always to be a head high school coach. I was an assistant. I knew I had to pay my dues. I didn't get the first job I applied for. But I sat with the WI handbook, and I went through basically the 400 schools that are in Wisconsin and put little stars by the ones that I thought could win or would win, or that I could possibly get a job at. Not necessarily in that order. And the funny thing is Memorial was on that list. I still have that handbook that I kind of marked up. And I always thought Memorial was a sleeping giant. I always thought that, gosh, if you get there and you get some kids, you can win some basketball games. So I think you got to go in with an open mind. You got to have other people looking. I think when you pick a school, you got to look at the atmosphere. Obviously there's quote-unquote football schools, there's wrestling schools, there's basketball schools. Memorial was not a basketball school when I took over the job. Memorial was a swimming and hockey school. And I'm proud to say that I think we've kind of shifted that a little bit, and people think about Memorial basketball now when they think of Madison Memorial. So you can always change the atmosphere. It's a difficult thing to do. You got to win some basketball games to do that. But I think you got to look, can I overcome that obstacle? Can I overcome the atmosphere that's there? This has been a wrestling school for 50 years. Can I overcome that? And if you think you can, then that might be a job you want to pursue. And that goes under the can you win? Can you get the players? Can you get the guys, the community, the administration, everyone to buy into the stuff that we're going to talk about that it takes to have a championship team? And it comes down more to than just having players. Players are very important, but it comes down more to that. And community. We're in an urban setting, 250, 300,000 people. I understand how that works. It's a little different in the small towns, but can you win in that community? Basketball tends to be an urban game. But could I have won if I had stayed in Wausau? Jason Teskey's been there for for, gosh, 10 years, and he's won his share and gone to the state semifinals, and he's done a wonderful job. But, you know, is that where I wanted to go, or was I looking for something else? So I think you got to ask yourself, and you got to be honest, and maybe you got to ask people that aren't so directly connected to the game to look at those things. Last thing is players. Okay, you got to have players. Okay, you know, I forgot where I read it, but you can't have a donkey run the Kentucky Derby. Okay, it ain't going to work. You know, you're not going to take a jalopy and go do the Indy 500. You're not going to win. Okay, so you got to have players. You do have to have players. So how do you get players? Well, youth development is important. You know, luckily when I took over this job, the youth program was kind of set by my predecessor, Bruce Dahman. It was set to Tri-County. The young kids are playing. You know, they have a basketball in their hands. You know, we had to compete against a hockey stick in their hands, or they're swimming year-round. So you got to develop that tradition that, hey, you're in third grade, you should be playing basketball. So I think that's an important thing. You know, we can't go out and get our players. You know, we're not college coaches. I need a 4, I'm going to go recruit a 4. So you got to try to find people and develop the youth. You got to have a plan. How are you going to develop it? How are you going to get youth coaches? Who's going to run it? How is it going to get financed? How are they going to be involved in the high school program? All that stuff has got to be important, and you got to put some thought into it. You know, we have one that kind of runs itself now, which is nice. I don't have to deal a lot with it. But you know, it took a lot of time and a lot of man hours, like I said, for my predecessor to get that going and get it moving. You know, I think we're up to 12 teams of that youth program. You know, there's different places too. You know, we have the Boys and Girls Club. We have kids that don't play in our youth program that eventually play for me. You know, they play Boys and Girls Club, they play AAU, they play different basketball. So it all depends. You just got to be open-minded. You got to know there's people in the community that are looking out for kids and looking for opportunities for them to participate. You got to find, when I'm looking for players, I'm looking for hard workers, and I'm looking for basketball players. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm looking for kids that want to work hard. Okay, it's no different than, I'm a math teacher by profession. It's no different than looking for a good pre-calculus student. What am I looking for? I'm looking for a kid that's coming in for help, a kid that's going to do their homework, a kid that's going to spend the time, they're going to ask questions, blah, blah, blah. You're going to have to do the exact same thing with a basketball player. Okay, coaching is teaching, and you know, you got to look for people that want to get better. If they do, they will. You know, Derek Nakemji, 2 years ago, he's playing at Edgewood College now, was a kid that was a hard worker. Didn't play his junior year. Was a role guy, didn't like it, came to talk to me, didn't want to sit on the bench going into his senior year, worked extremely hard, became a very good basketball player, already was, became even a better basketball player, and was a huge part of us getting to the state finals. Now he's having a successful college career, and I just saw his college coach the other day, and he just says he's doing a wonderful job and he's a wonderful kid. So those are the kind of kids you're looking for. You want basketball players. You know, I look for kids that are competitors, and I look for basketball players. Now, what do I mean by competitors? And I have one of these at home, a 7-year-old that hopefully is going to be a basketball player someday, but he's a competitor. He'll play checkers, he'll play Monopoly, he'll play whatever he's going to do, and he doesn't want to lose. Okay? That's the kind of kid I want. You know, obviously I want guys that basketball is a very high priority, and it's something that they love and they want to do, but you know, if they're playing football, that's great. They're competing. You know, if they're playing basketball year round, great. They're competing. I just want them to be competitive. I want them to want to win. And part of the reason that we've won some of our state titles is because we've had competitive kids that want to win basketball games. So, you know, I think you got to think to yourself, what's important? What kind of kid am I looking for? What kind of kid can I get? And go from there. So 3 things, you know, looking, and this is not necessarily the most important. I'm not, the numbers don't necessarily mean anything here, but I think if you're building a foundation, you got to find the right people, the right school, and the right players. If you're going to build from the bottom up, like we had to do and when we weren't very successful, I think you got to have these 3 things. If you have any one of those 3 missing, it's going to be difficult to turn a program that hasn't won, like Memorial, around to a winner. And we've been blessed. We've had all 3 of these. We've had I got a great school, a great administration that's supportive, I got great coaches, and I got great players. If you get those 3, it's going to make a pretty good mixture. So you got to ask yourself if they've got all those. And if they do, I think you know, any program can be turned around and be successful, no matter where it's been.
Hey Coach, hope you enjoyed that video. Make sure you go over and check out teachhoops.com up above and down below. Subscribe, make sure you subscribe down below. I have been there. teachhoops.com is a great community. It's not only a community, it's not only resources, it's also mentoring. You'll get my personal email address. You'll get help from me whenever you want, one-on-one calls, office hours, anything like that. So I've won lots of championships. Let me help you win championships too.